I'm not supposed to be a business owner. I'm supposed to be a statistic. I feel like we're playing with house money at this point, but it wasn't always that way. I did what everyone who's only got $1,000 in their bank account does to try and find off-market deals. I bought a Vespa scooter off Craigslist, and I drove it around every hot market in Columbus. I said, that thing's a piece of junk. I wonder if they'll sell it to me. I wanted to make 100 cold calls a day. Hey, don't take this the wrong way, but I saw your house. It looks like it kind of sucks. Can I buy it from you? And surprisingly, people said yes to that. We took that same process and started cold calling 100 to 200 unit apartments and said, what if instead of 100 deals a year, we only did 3, 4, or 5. And to my absolute surprise, people started saying, yeah, sure, we'll sell it. You guys have no idea that I don't know what I'm doing. 6 years later, it's about 2,000 units. We give 20% of our profits away. To date, that's about $500,000. We've been given many gifts. We want to pass that on.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Commercially Speaking, the only commercial real estate podcast where a CCIM instructor breaks down the business and his younger brother wonders if he could turn debt yield into an off-Broadway musical. Check it out. Bo, you play the banker.
All right.
Living in the basement of my parents' home, I need a loan, so I'm not alone. What if they say no? No. I got it. Bum, bum. If you know I can do this, it could change my life. Move out of the basement, get myself a wife, say goodbye to the parents. Hello to the banker. I'm taking the risk. The banker's a risk ranker. Boom, boom.
What amount are we talking here, sir?
I haven't amounted to much yet, but I'm taking a bet.
Okay, what is your net?
My net? Well, there's some.
So you're not a bum?
Not with this net operating income. Huh? What do you think? Yeah?
Yeah, okay. I'm Bo Barron, CCIM, Marine veteran, CCIM instructor, and the one responsible for teaching you how this industry actually works.
And I'm Timmy Barron, ADHD, actor, comedian, and currently 3 years into a commercial real estate journey I did not audition for. I'm here to ask the questions.
I'm here to translate the answers.
And you're here to do the deals.
Each week we bring on guests who are doing meaningful work in CRE, from building portfolios to building community.
And today's guest, well, Bo, what do you get when you cross a physics degree, a cold call machine, and a man with a philanthropic death wish? And a man with a philanthropic death wish.
I'm going to guess. Our guest?
Correct! Today's guest has made more off-market touches than I've made eye contact with casting directors.
Joe Huber is the founder of Huber Equity Group, based in Columbus, Ohio, where he and his team have built a 1,700-plus unit multifamily portfolio by sourcing almost entirely off-market.
That's right. While most investors are waiting for deals to hit CoStar, Joe's out here making 150,000 owner touches a year. That's not a CRM. That's a cry for help.
But it's working. Huber Equity Group has now closed over $210 million in acquisitions across the Midwest and Southeast, buying below replacement cost, underwriting for worst-case scenarios, and still outperforming.
I underwrite for worst case scenarios too. It's called my life.
Mm-hmm. The kicker? Joe's not just building wealth, he's giving 20% of company profits to nonprofits focused on childhood trauma. Over $300,000 donated so far.
So he's the kind of guy who outworks you and outgives you. Nice.
He's sharp, humble, mission-driven, and somehow underrated.
Let's fix that right now. Please welcome to the show,
Joe Huber!
Hey! Yoo-hoo!
Guys, I don't know how I live up to all that. What an intro, man. Let's go.
All right. Come on now.
So at Hearthstone, let me tell you how I got connected with Joe.
Yes.
At Hearthstone, our analyst is a guy named Brett.
Hearthstone Capital Fund, which Bo is a co-founder.
Yes. And our analyst lives in Columbus, Ohio, and knew these guys, and actually has now gone to work with these guys in the brokerage part of their arm. So our analyst at Huber,
you all stole Brett?
No, Brett helps us both.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
For sharing, Brett.
And so that's how we got connected. And so we started essentially pursuing a relationship with Joe and his group.
Yeah.
And got to know him better and took a look at one of their deals. And so our last investment through Hearthstone is in Huber's deal in Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So like these guys are the real deal. Super impressive.
Sweet. Shout out to Brett. Joe, could you give us like a 2-minute origin story of like where you started and how you got to where you are?
Absolutely. So, I mean, you touched on it a little bit. Right now, we have, a little under 2,000 units across 6 states, but it wasn't always that way. I sold medical equipment for about a year after finally getting out of college with a degree and got laid off. I was walking around a yuppity neighborhood in Columbus and saw these guys cleaning out a house, and I asked them if I could buy it. I was freshly unemployed, and, they said yes. So bought that house off market. One house became, 3, became 10, became 100, flipped houses for about 5 years. And the whole time what we were doing was trying to find these off-market deals. The first one, we got it for an absolute song. And so I did what everyone who's only got $1,000 in their bank account does to try and find off-market deals. I bought a Vespa scooter off Craigslist.
Nice.
And I drove it around every hot market in Columbus.
About this.
And I had a notebook with me. I'd one of these guys and a little pen, and I'd write it down. I said, that thing's a piece of junk. I wonder if they'll sell it to me. And my only goal at the time was I wanted to make 100 cold calls a day. And so I called 100 people a day saying, hey, don't take this the wrong way, but I saw your house. It looks like it kind of sucks. Can I buy it from you? And surprisingly, people said yes to that. So
Wow.
that was kind of the background, how we did it. We started building this cold call machine with a small army of Vespa scooters and cell phones, and just dialing through the auditor's website, getting phone numbers and knocking on doors, writing handwritten letters, that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And then about 6 years ago, it was a lot, right? We had one week we had 4 closings. I had a 2-year-old son at the time. We had Airbnbs, long-term rentals, 20 people on payroll for a construction company, an army of Vespa scooters, couple realtors, and a partridge in a pear tree. And I was kicked on a Friday night, and I was down wrestling with my 2-year-old son, and I thought everything was great, but he stopped and he put his hand on my shoulder and he looked into my eyes. He said, Daddy, it's going to be okay. And I realized, crap, like this isn't working. What I thought was this awesome machine we had built. It was just all crumbling down, not because anything was unprofitable, but because the stress load of trying to do too many things at once was just overwhelming me. And so that was kind of the beginning of a change. And so that forced a lot of, it was a come to Jesus moment, right? Because it was, one, why are we doing what we're doing, right? What's the point of what we're doing? Because if we're going to sacrifice the family, it's not worth it, right? And then 2, how do we do more of what we're really good at, right? We weren't that great at running construction companies or Airbnbs or any of that. What we were really good at was finding off-market deals. We'd build a machine that was doing, at that time, 15, 20,000 cold calls a year.
Wow.
And that was working really well, but how do we capitalize on more of that? And so that became what is Huber Equity Group today. We took that same process and started cold calling, 100 to 200 unit apartments, and said, what if instead of 50 deals a year or 100 deals a year, we only did 3, 4, or 5? What if we just did bigger deals? And so we started cold calling, and to my absolute surprise, people started saying, yeah, sure, we'll sell it. And I was like, you guys have no idea that I don't know what I'm doing. I flipped a couple houses. I've never bought one of these 100 to 200 unit buildings, but like anything, you figure it out. I listen to a lot of podcasts like you guys. And slowly but surely you get that self-education, and, we started with 100 units, and then it was another 100 units. And then, 6 years later, it's about 2,000 units, and, it's been a wild adventure. But the other piece of that too was, when I first started flipping houses, my goal, I wanted to make enough money so my wife could stay home with kids, right? Which we were getting married. That's what she was saying. I want to have family one day and I want to stay home with kids. And so it was just the provider, instinct trying to give her that. 5-6 years later, when we had 70 doors of scattered site multifamily and all these flips and all these other things, that goal had come and gone, and so it was time to find a new goal. And so that was a real come to Jesus moment. And I toyed with, should I retire? Should I volunteer full time? Should I, what does that look like since my family has the needs met? And I felt like, I'm a faith driven guy, and I really tried to pray through it and figure out, why am I here? What am I doing? And I felt like God was telling me, go build a business for me. Use the skills, talents, and gifts I've given you and go build a business, but just start with that as the North Star. And so for us, that manifested in a lot of ways. Our core value number one is, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I feel like I've been given the world. I'm not supposed to be a business owner. I'm supposed to be a statistic based on my background and all that. So I feel like we're playing with house money at this point. And so we give 20% of our profits away, like you guys have touched on. And to date, that's about a $500,000 given away. And most of our profits are retained for growing and all that. But we want to stretch that giving muscle, right? Because we want to be having that impact now. And I hope that number grows, right? Both from a dollars and a percentage standpoint. But really, it's about, we've been given many gifts, and we want to bless others with those, right? We want to pass that on.
If you're new to commercial real estate investing, you probably know the feeling. Brokers, underwriting, raising capital, where do you even begin? And that's why CRE Investor Coach exists, to give new and emerging investors a clear step-by-step path to closing their first deal. I believe in this program so much, I actually joined the team as an adjunct faculty member. That's how committed I am to helping more people get into the space right now. Whether you want to go at your own pace with on-demand training, launch your first investment with expert coaching, or scale with a mastermind of other ambitious investors, there's a roadmap here for you. Inside, you'll learn how to define your investor identity, analyze deals with confidence, talk to brokers like a pro, raise capital, and build a real acquisition pipeline without all the guesswork. This is about building a business that blesses your life, not breaks your spirit. So if you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and actually get in the game, check out the link in the show notes and start your journey today. Learn, launch, and scale with CRE Investor Coach. This episode is also brought to you by Site to Do Business, commercial real estate's most advanced toolkit, providing commercial real estate professionals like me with premier data, mapping, and marketing tools to win business and revolutionize decision-making. Visit stdb.com to learn more. I've learned two phrases from him that I've heard him say that both times I was like, dang it. I wish I would have thought of that.
Yeah. What?
The first one, I don't know which one was the first one I heard, but he kind of touched on this a second ago. But like the tagline of their business, I don't know what you call this, but it's fight for profits so that we can give generously, or something like that. Like, fix it. I didn't say it exactly right, but what
is it, Joe?
We fight for profits so we can give generously. You missed a we, but you're pretty close.
When he said that, I was like, man. The other one was digging for basis.
Right. You said that the other day. Yeah.
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 Like, I love that phrase. And
what digging for basis?
Basis.
Like
cost basis.
BASIS, cost basis.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So, Joe, as if you're explaining it to my little brother here, as if he were a fifth grader. He's older than that. But how would you define digging for basis? Why that's so important?
Right. He loves it so much, and I just don't get it.
Yeah. So basis is what you are, the cost that you have in an investment, right? And so it's, that's the one number that you can't ever go back and change. You can change your rents, you can change, you can refi your loan and get a new interest rate, but what you pay for that deal, what you put into that deal, that number is your floor. That's set. And
Gotcha.
So we make so many cold calls every year because we're trying to dig up opportunities that are low cost relative to what they put out. And that's the most important investment number in our eyes. Put another way, is Tesla a good buy? I don't know. When did you buy it, right? If you bought it 5 years ago and it ran up, Tesla stock's probably a great buy, right? If you're buying it today, that's for someone smarter than me to evaluate. But, I think that number that you pay is such an important factor, and you can't start it over. You can't redo that one.
You've heard people say you make your money on the buy.
Yeah, we've talked about this. Yeah.
That's the same kind of idea.
Right.
But what going in at a low basis or a low cost, like he's describing, gives you margin for error.
Yeah.
And so, and if everything goes like you've projected, home run, man.
Yeah.
It's like a great deal. But if it only goes half right, can you still live with that deal? And if your basis is low enough, the answer is often yes.
Right.
So that's why, like, your going in basis, your going in cost is such a big deal.
Yeah.
So you overpay, and now you're in a situation where things need to go a certain way. And if they don't,
right.
ouch.
Right.
It can go bad.
Yeah. Uncle Warren has 2 rules of investing. Rule number 1 is don't lose money. Rule number 2 is refer to rule number 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that sounds kind of trite and trivial and all that, but I think it's so important because losses hurt more than gains help mathematically. I got a physics degree, so hang on. I forgot most of it and barely got it in the first place, but
come on.
But just a little bit of math. If you got $100 and you lose 20% and then gain 20%, you don't have $100, right? You lost 20%, you have $80. You made 20%, you have $96. You made $16.
Ah.
The bigger the loss, the more it hurts too, right? If you lose 50%, gain 50%, your $100 is $50. Now your $100 is $75. So the bigger the loss, the more it impacts you. And so this idea that losses hurt more than gains help, I think that's the basis for different use of basis. That's the basis for Uncle Warren's rule. Don't lose money. Refer back to rule number 1.
The psychology is also the same.
Yeah.
Losses hurt more than gains feel good. It's the idea that you will hold on to what you have much harder than you'll spend to gain.
Yeah.
That was very poorly said. Kind of like if you own the coffee cup, what's it worth to you? More than you would pay to buy it.
Yeah.
There's it's that same kind of thing. Losses hurt more.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So psychologically, it's the same thing, which just layers on the pain of losses.
When you were explaining that, the 20% loss, then 20% gained, I feel like I understand math now.
For the first time?
Something clicked within me of like, oh my goodness. Yeah, that's right.
All right.
That's right. Or at least this part of it. But yeah, no, something clicked with me there.
Nice.
Yeah. So, all right. So you saw a house. You told somebody, your house sucks. Can I buy it? They said yes, right? And so now you're like, oh, I'm going to do this. And see, so just going back a second. How?
Use your words.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I just started looking up into the sky there.
How does that happen?
How does it happen? What motivated you to keep doing it? Or like, yeah, how does that happen?
I had a friend who was flipping houses. He didn't get a real job after college like I did, and I probably should have joined him sooner, but he kept trying to get me to come join him in this house flipping. His mom was a realtor, and so over the summers we would, go finish basements with bedrooms on campus and, finish in garages and, so that way they could rent their properties for more. And I started learning this through college, and it was just swinging hammers, right? It was your standard 20-year-old just doing whatever you can to make a little cash through college situation. But I also started learning even just the basic fundamentals of if a property brings in more income, it's worth more money, right? We didn't get into cap rates. We didn't get into math of it, but it was that basic idea. And so he had been flipping houses for about a year and a half. When I got laid off, my wife and I had just finished paying off all our debts,
Hmm.
Dave Ramsey style. And
Yep.
so we were used to living on her teacher's salary. And so I told her at that, kind of before we started looking at properties, I said, hey, I kind of want to go for this real estate thing. I might not earn an income for a year. Are you okay with that? And she said, sure, why not? We've been used to living on my teacher salary anyway. We were using yours to pay off the debt. Why not go for it? Well, joke's on her. She was my sugar mama for 5 years before I took a consistent paycheck. But she's been staying home longer than that now. So I think we balanced the scales, but
Sure.
no, I mean, it was just to go for it, right? It was,
Yeah.
I think, guys, I was a pretty terrible employee. My
Yeah.
old managers would probably relate to that, but Mark Cuban says that entrepreneurs are the only people that work 60 hours a week, so they don't have to work 40. And
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of truth to that. When you're building something for yourself, there's just a different level of excitement and passion. And, if you do what you
Yes.
love, you never work a day in your life. And I found
Right.
something I fell in love with and knew it really early. And so those 60, 70, 80-hour weeks, they weren't that hard. In many ways, they were
Yeah.
easier than the 30-hour weeks when I was supposed to be working 40 for someone else because I hated it,
Right. No, totally. But I understand this now. You were exposed to flipping houses because of your friend in college. So when it came time to that, you really wanted to give it a shot. And as far as the off market thing goes, was it where you accidentally fell into doing off market and then just continued to do it? Or are you still strictly off market? What's the story there?
Yeah, so I fell into off market. I was walking around a garage sale and these guys were cleaning out the house. And, I asked them, I said, hey, can I buy it? It looks like you're getting ready to sell. They said, yeah, our mom just died. The roof was caving in. The basement wall had collapsed. I mean, there were so many things wrong with this house.
Yeah.
And they said, give me 150 grand and it's yours. So I shook their hands. I said, done, let's do it. 90 days later, we closed. We ended up having to raise about $150,000, got a bank loan for the renovation. Took us 13 investors to raise that $150,000. So the checks were
Mm.
very small.
Yep.
And at, the day we close, we kind of get to the top of that mountain, get ready to start renovating. The day we close, a neighbor walks across the street and says, son, I've been trying to buy this thing forever. I'll give you $350 for it right now. And my eyes went giant. And I'd love to tell you that I, took the money and run. I didn't. We flipped the house still. We renovated it. We had delusions of grandeur that we were going to make $500,000 profit. 2 years later, close to close, we took that $200,000 profit margin and we consolidated it to about 150. So that's a way of saying we left a lot of money on the table. It should have just taken the offer. But what was interesting was I got instant feedback on pricing that we went and found a home run. And now it was like the world had changed because I knew what was possible. So I said, how do we find more houses that look like this with bushes grown up over the gutters and, roofs that were caving in and when you buy a car and you've never seen one on the road and then you buy one and you see it everywhere, it was like that. I was driving around these fancy neighborhoods saying, look at that thing. I've driven by this thing 100 times and didn't know how crappy that house is. Maybe they'll sell it to me. And that's where I bought the Vespa scooter and just started driving up and down every street. And that instant pricing feedback, if that guy doesn't come across the street and offers us twice what we pay for it, I don't know where I'm at, but I got instant feedback because of that guy.
Right.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
That is real.
He's like a Bob Knackle on a Vespa. That's Bob Knackle went all through the streets of New York.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon or frequency illusion. That's the name of the concept of when you buy a car.
Oh.
And then you see it everywhere.
Yes.
Or you've noticed that house and now you start seeing it everywhere. But I have a question about this Vespa scooter thing because we had an incident in our family earlier this week. You don't even know about this because it's Autumn's side of the family. But my nephew, who worked with us here at the company for a little while, he moved to Charlotte. He works with a finance company that does loans on like heavy machinery and stuff like that. Great kid. His name's Jake. And I think he listens to this show. So what's up, Jake?
Shout out, Jake.
He was on a scooter in Charlotte where he lives, and somebody ran a red light and just plowed into him.
Jeez.
And there was a Tesla at the intersection, and so I've seen the video of it. He broke his toe.
What?
He's all beat to crap. I mean, he's having a hard time walking, but it's just bruises. He broke his toe, and he's got some abrasions. That's it. It's amazing. You watch that video, it's amazing he's not dead. So I'm wondering with this army of Vespa scooters, like, were there did you have some accidents?
No, the worst that happened was my business partner at the time. He dropped off his truck to one of our guys. And we ended up, he needed a ride. So he was riding on the back of my Vespa scooter, two dudes on a Vespa scooter, and we got pulled over. And so we're just sitting there, and the cop is walking up to us, and officer, this is pretty embarrassing, isn't it? He's like, son, what are y'all doing? Like, what are you doing? Just two guys on a Vespa scooter. So that was, we didn't get a ticket. We talked our way out of it, but that was the worst that happened. Not quite as bad as a broken toe, but no, we were okay.
Yeah.
I just had a flashback to.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I will say, if you pulled up next to a Harley at a red light and you kind of just rev it at them, yours sounds like a weed whacker. That was 100% always going to get a laugh. Wee! And you could always get a laugh that way. Yeah.
Yeah. I had a Vespa scooter for a while, and I had it in Memphis. I even rode it in the winter. I'd put those camouflage onesies, like hunting onesies. They're nice and warm.
Yeah, like Carhartt kind of thing.
Yeah, with a big puffy coat, right? So I'm like this, the helmet, and just riding in the winter. But yeah. You remember I had that?
No.
Yeah.
I will say that Vespa scooter has still been the best investment I've ever purchased. We bought like 100 deals on the back of that thing, and I deducted 20,000 miles on a Vespa that I paid $800 for. So
wow.
Someone tax, smart can tell you what the ROI on that thing is, but it was pretty solid.
Yeah, that's great.
That's pretty solid. Now, It also came to me, prospect theory.
Yes. That is, you want to hold on.
Yeah, we tend to feel the pain of loss more intensely than the pleasure of equivalent gain.
Yeah.
That's the name of it. Daniel Kahneman or whatever.
Guys, one other story on that instant feedback on pricing. When we started calling the bigger deals, 100 to 200 unit deals, we ended up finding this 150 unit deal, and we thought we had a home run, right? We didn't really know what we were looking at, but we thought it was amazing. And this is one of the best deals we didn't do. Had it in contract for $12.25 million. Needed to raise like $5 million of equity. Had never raised anything more than $1 million in equity at the time. And this was spring of 2020. So COVID happened. We were under LOI and under contract as the world shut down. Couldn't get equity, couldn't get debt. I mean, just no one knew what was happening. The world stopped. And, we ended up, DD came and went. We had to terminate. Didn't have, didn't want the $100,000 to go hard on this deal.
Due diligence. DD,
okay. Yeah. So our earnest money was going to go non-refundable on this deal. And so, we made all the calls, couldn't find anyone to pick this deal up and run with it. And so we terminated the deal. 30 days later, family office, this really rich family called us back and said, hey, we like it. We want to do this thing. Let's go get it. COVID seems like, we're going to still be able to get lending, all that. So I called this seller back. And I told him, I said, hey, found the equity, excited, let's pick it up. And he goes, son, you're too late. I just sold that property for $15.5. You had in contract for $12.25. Better luck next time. Oh. And that will forever be the deal that got away. But I remember that deal and the instant we can do this feeling it gave me, because Yeah, we lost that deal, but we got immediate pricing feedback, and we started learning that these deals we're doing are going to work. It's going to happen. And 6 months
Yeah.
later, we bought our first one, and 6 months after that, we bought our second one. But we wouldn't have known that this was going to work without that deal getting away. If we buy it, we don't know how good a deal it is until you go to refi it or sell it, or it might take 2-3 years before we know just how effective this cold calling thing could be. And so that's my encouragement to anyone trying to build something out there. Sometimes you just got to keep your head down. You just got to keep grinding. You just got to keep going for it.
I would also suggest that, like, you made the right call in letting that deal go.
Yeah.
Like, under those circumstances, with that amount of uncertainty, there's so much you didn't know and couldn't bear out about what the world was going to look like even a couple of weeks ahead of time. But that was the right call, even though it got away.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's.
Yeah. So, I mean, it makes sense to me that now you're thinking in moving into multifamily because you can do less deals and still,
Well, think about what happened to him in that story.
Yeah.
He'd been doing the house flipping.
Right.
His son, says, hey, it's going to be okay. He starts changing the way they're doing and the first deal they put under contract. Was that the first deal you put under contract multifamily wise?
Yep. Very first.
Yeah.
Yep.
COVID happens, but what he does is that family office, the equity showed up.
Yeah.
And so that part of it, one big question he has, can I raise that kind of money?
Right.
Well, he found out the answer is yes.
Right.
2, looked like the debt was going to be there. 3, when he went to go pick the deal back up, the way they underwrote it, mining for basis,
Right.
like digging for basis, that's what they thought they had found, but they weren't sure.
Right.
But it turns out that's exactly what they found.
Yep.
Because the dude a month later or however long later had sold it for a couple $1 million more. Like, he's like, we can do what we think we can do.
Yeah.
Which huge shot in the arm. Gave them a lot of confidence, and then they
Right.
were able to move forward with confidence. Man, the confidence piece, I think, is just
Yeah. It's huge.
massive.
Absolutely. And Bo, you touched on something interesting there. We talk a lot about this as we're planning for growth. As real estate guys, we're not putting men on the moon. We're making sausage, right? What we do is not that complicated. We only have 3 resources that we have to balance. 1 is deal flow, good deals worth doing. 2 is money, capital, equity, yours or someone else's to fund that deal flow. And then 3 is execution, doing the business plan that you set out to do, team, staff, management, capital improvements, all of that. If you have $100 million worth of deal flow and $5 million worth of capital, you're doing $5 million worth of deals. And so when we're
That's right.
thinking about growing our business, we look at those 3 resources, and you got to keep balancing them and pushing them up together, because that's all it takes to do good deals, or to do deals, do more deals. Those are the same resources that I have, that you have, that Blackstone has, right? They just have a lot
That's right.
more of them than us.
Yeah. You broke it down where it seems so simple. But let's talk
easy.
about this for a
Yeah,
second.
no problem.
It's so easy. Yeah.
So easy.
Execution. Boom.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, let me share with you a
okay.
little bit about their execution.
Yeah. Okay, great.
So before we solidified this deal with them, we wanted to actually meet them face to face. And so Brad and I went to Columbus, Ohio. We met Brett there. Of course, that's where he lived. And we met with Joe and his team. So we're all in their conference room in their office. First time we've been face to face. We've had calls. We've looked at their deals. We've asked a ton of questions. We've done all this stuff.
Yeah.
But now we're sitting there face to face, and we've got a lot of questions. And a lot of it was around execution. And here's another phrase. I don't know exactly what it is. I remember this, though. They do execution with a scalpel. He kept mentioning scalpel. And what he's talking about there is
Precision.
it's precision, as opposed to like a broadsword,
Right.
which is like knock a bunch of stuff down with a lot of efficiency.
Right.
But, man, what we found in their answers and the way they had their systems set up and their team members and all, they were all impressive. Their backgrounds were impressive. They all seemed to have a very precise scalpel-like command of their areas of their business. And so
Right.
we left that day in Columbus thinking, man, they scored very high for us on the execution part.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I really like that.
L-
And Joe can talk more about that, but that was our impression
Yeah.
sitting with them in that room that day.
Well, I'm thinking about all the people out here that would like to do this or like to move into this that haven't raised money before, right? What I'm hearing from you is there's a ton of cold calling and riding around on Vespas to find these, right? So there's that one aspect of it, but there's the whole thing about like getting the money. And I think like what is your cold call secret?
Cold call secret to getting the money? Or
To getting the money? Well, let me ask you this. You're cold calling to get money. You're cold calling to find deals. Is that right?
yeah, both. We do both.
Yes. So,
Um,
yeah, I want to know like what people are scared to cold call. There's so many people that are looking up how to do a good cold call, right? It's got to be more. Of course, you got to make a lot of calls all the time, and you'll get better and better the more calls you make. But what have you learned? What now that you've made so many calls? What makes a good cold call?
You do anything 1,000 times and you're just going to get better at it. You will learn more in 1 week making 100 calls a day than you will in reading 10 books about cold calling, right? You're going to get absolutely kicked in the teeth for a week and it's going to be better on the other side. One of the best deals we bought on the small side was a 4 unit. We ended up paying $100,000 for it. It was fire damage, worked with insurance, got to collect some money. We ended up, turning that thing for about $300,000 profit on a deal that we paid $100,000 for. And I was shadowing the cold call guy when he was doing it. And he goes, "Is this Mrs. Harris or Mr. Harris? Who am I talking to?" And that was the cold open. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like you really couldn't tell on the phone, but also that's where we started. And sure enough, it's like, oh, this is Mr. Harris. But yeah, I got that property. I'd like to, I do want to sell it actually. And
You know what? Give me another call.
Yeah.
Come on, call boy. Yeah, no, I was waiting for a call. This is great.
And it was hilarious. But, his opening was, "Are you a dude or a woman?" I can't really tell on the phone. "Oh, but yeah, sure. I'd love to buy that property you own." Right. And so I think cold calls a lot like fishing, right? If you expect to go offshore and catch a marlin on your first try, you probably haven't done much offshore fishing, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have a success rate based on how good you are, and then you're going to multiply that success rate across your output. And the interesting thing is, the more you do it, the higher that success rate becomes. And so my suggestion is volume, 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 right?
Yeah.
Just go do it over and over and over and over again, and you get better at it, because that's how you learn in actuality, in practical terms. And that's how we failed forward.
Yeah. Totally agree.
We've made millions of cold calls at this point.
Yeah.
That cold open reminded me of my best cold open ever.
Okay.
I only used it a handful of times, but the first time I did it, I'm in a car with Dad and Kevin Humphrey. We're on our way to Stanford, Kentucky, driving in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky, essentially. And we passed this Dollar General store. Well, I had just built a database of all the Dollar Generals in Kentucky and who owned them all. And we were prospecting. We were sending out letters, certain number a week. We were calling them the next week. But we drove right by, middle of nowhere, Kentucky. And so I pulled up on my phone who owned it, called him. Guy answered. And I was like, "Hey, I just want you to know, my name's Bo Barron. I want you to know I just drove by your Dollar General store, and it is not on fire." And then I asked him, now, nobody owns just one Dollar General store. If they do, they want to get rid of it. If not, they either want to get rid of it or they want to buy more. Like, which one of those two are you? Yeah. And it turns out he had 4 and partners, and I ended up in his office the next day. Like, I had less than 24 hours to put a proposal together but I was in his office the next day, just because I thought, man, I'm going to try to be a little cheeky on this one and
Yeah.
call out of nowhere, hey, my name's Bo Barron. I just want to let you know, drove by your Dollar General store. It's not on fire. It's like, all right.
That's great. That's really good. I worked at a telemarketing company for a while.
I remember
Yeah.
that.
Creative
In Memphis.
Yeah, in Memphis. Creative Product Source, CPS. But she'd be like CPS, Creative Product Source, but it actually stands for cheap plastic shit. Mind manipulation. That's what we do. And it was in Memphis, so it was always humid. So no matter where in the country I was calling, I was like, how's the weather there? Because in Memphis today, it feels like you walk outside, you got a mouthful of gravy. And that always get like a laugh, and that was a good breaker. We'd have one like for certain days too, like
This episode is sponsored in part by Site to Do Business, the ultimate commercial real estate data analysis and mapping tool. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, Site to Do Business provides the data and insights you need to make informed decisions and close deals faster. Frankly, it's the tool that I use the most in my business. Access comprehensive market analysis, demographic data, and powerful mapping tools like ArcGIS, Placer AI, and flood maps all in one place. Identify the best locations for your clients, analyze market trends, and present your findings with confidence. Don't miss out on this game-changing platform. Visit STDB.com today and see how it can optimize your business. And now back to the show.
on Thursday, be like, how you doing on this SHIT day? Do you know what that stands for? So happy it's Thursday.
Gosh.
But anywho,
Well, tell us a little bit more about.
I want to know your opener. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a go-to opener when you make calls?
You know, I was always pretty generic. You know, hey, I see you have a house. I'd like to buy it. You know, could I buy this property from you? Yeah, I mean, it was
Just straight right out.
I would just get to it. Yeah.
I think
I
that's
probably
huge.
missed out on not having more creative openers, candidly. In hindsight,
Well,
I don't know, man.
No, I think that's good. I think anything else when you got to open or whatever, there is that stink of trying, right? Someone's trying to sell me something or trying to do something or whatever.
If somebody called me and said, hey, my name's so-and-so, I want to buy your building.
Yeah.
Like, I would respond to that.
Right.
Way better than any of the scripts that somebody's reading at me or whatever. It would land. Thank you for getting right to the point and telling me the truth about why you're calling.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And
You know, I will-
mean, the thing. Go ahead.
I'll share this though. My cold opener with my wife, that was maybe my best cold opener because she was a teacher at the time, and I did a lot of, you know, debatably legal trespassing around Ohio State's campus. I broke into the stadium a lot, and you know, and so I at that time I thought I wanted to be a teacher. I was still in school. It was the first time I met her, and someone goes, "Oh yeah, she's a teacher." I said, "Oh hey, you're a teacher? What can I have on my record and still be a teacher if I want to go into that one day?"
That's awesome.
And she looked around her friends. She's like, "Who is this guy?" And I was like, "That's it.
Oh, that's
It's the one you're gonna marry one day." 12 years,
that's
3
so
kids
good.
later, you know. So
You could call her and say, hey, my name's Joe Huber. I want to marry you. You know, like
Right.
those other, that
Could.
might not have worked so well.
then she wouldn't
Right.
know if I had a criminal record or not. So you know,
That's
that's
true.
what she was wondering.
That's
Got it.
true.
Yeah.
Do you know, this is a good point because with the cold opens, especially the one I was talking about, I was trying to mind manipulate somebody to buy our cheap stuff, right? So it's like you need something, whatever. But when you're asking to buy something, it's like you don't need an opener. They either want to sell it or not. You're just asking about wanting to buy it. And a lot of people will be like, oh, yeah, you want to give me money? Here's the thing, you know? Anyway, that just clicked with me. So I just wanted to say it is a big difference. It's a different kind of cold calling than trying to sell somebody something than trying to get them to sell you something. It's just a different dynamic. Anywho,
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're right.
yeah.
But I did want to ask you why you take 20% of your profits to give. Like fighting for we fight for profits so that we can give generously. And I want to hear about those causes that you care so much about to
Yeah.
actually give your profits to.
Yeah.
And tell us about who you give
Yeah,
to.
that's a great question. You know, giving really started. It started going back to my childhood, right? And you know, I had this family that took me in when I was in high school, and I lived with them for a little over a year. That was actually my friend who was flipping the houses and with me, and his mom took me in. I had some rough stuff happen in my family and in my childhood. And, my house wasn't safe after a certain point. And so this family took me in and it changed my life. I don't know where I would be, but for that family taking me in. And that was, that was first time I learned about Jesus and, about faith and all of this as well. And, having that as a foundation and having that as a background, the Bible says that if you want to find your life, you have to lose it. And whoever seeks to gain his life will lose it. Whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. And what I found is there's so much joy on the other side of giving freely, giving generously, by laying down your life, in a figurative speaking, you get all of this other good stuff. You find true life. And so that's what we want to do, right? I want to experience more of that. And it really goes back to this family taking me in. I got this need-based scholarship through OSU. I caddied at a country club growing up and got this need-based caddy scholarship. It was the Evans Scholarship Program. Think Caddyshack, but a little more formal.
Is he the first one that's caddied? Didn't we have somebody else on here that was
a caddy?
I don't know. Okay.
No. We did have someone talk about going out and getting golf balls, and selling them back.
Okay.
Right. But I don't know. Maybe.
Right.
We've got Happy Gilmore 2 comes out today.
Yeah,
that's been on our mind as well.
So this family took me in when I was in high school. It changed my life. I got this need-based scholarship. I don't know how I was going to go to college. Full tuition and housing scholarship. So when I got out on the other side, it was,
nice.
My first goal was I was trying to figure out how to provide for a family, how to make enough so my wife could stay home with kids. And then I woke up 5 years later and it was like, we have more than we need. The next dollar doesn't change my life. Why keep building this business? And that's when I felt like I'm supposed to build businesses to give, right? So much have been given to me by so many people. You can't repay the people that have, been foundational in your life and helping create who you are. The only thing you can do is pay it forward. So we started out at a 10% giving mandate, and then that just didn't feel like enough. We wanted to do more. And so that's, right now that's 20%, but I hope that goes up, right? It's, most of our profits are retained and go into the next deal, the next team, the next software, the next whatever is going to help us grow. But I hope that number goes up to 50 and 80%. And, we're living on a small fraction as we do more and more deals. I hope we're fighting for profit so we can give generously, Bo.
Yeah. What a perfect fit for Hearthstone. Once again, like that's phenomenal. And, I mean, that was what you said. That was you all work. Your main priority is, with great power comes great responsibility. But it wasn't that.
It wasn't the Spider-Man version. Yeah.
Much given, much is expected. Same thing, right?
Yeah. Expected.
You're not the first one, Timmy. You're not the first one, man. Like Spider-Man. That's everyone remembers that one. Yeah.
Right.
So, Bo, you asked about some of the causes we support. And there's two that are really programmatic that we support with the majority of those gifting dollars. And then there's some kind of discretionary giving to stuff throughout the year. The first one is an organization called My Village Ministries. And what they do is they come alongside families in crisis and prevent unnecessary foster care placements. So, for example, if you have a single mom who needs emergency surgery, she might take her kids to the ER with her. And they're going to say, hey, you need to send your kids somewhere or we're going to call CPS, right? Not cheap plastic shit. It's Child Protective Services. And you end up, their kids end up in the foster care system. And 50% of the time, that mom doesn't get her kids back. She didn't need a program. She needed a friend, right? I had emergency surgery 2 years ago, whatever it was. We called our friends. They dropped the kids off. We picked them up 24 hours later. My wife took them while I was recovering in bed, all of that. In the grand scheme of things, it's not even a blip on the radar. But if we didn't have that community and if we weren't a 2-parent household and all of that, I might never see my kids again, or never have permanent custody of my kids again. So what they do is they take volunteers from churches and mobilize this army of volunteers to, all the things that you think of when you think of like Southern women in casseroles, right? One family takes a kid, another family like helps provide meals, another, person will help provide coaching and training and job skill training and that kind of stuff, and really become an army around this family to help support and lift them up. And then they get their kids back a couple weeks later, and they've got an army of people that are supporting them, and oftentimes they're getting plugged into those communities and that kind of thing. So that's one of the organizations that we love.
Yeah, that's incredible. I was just thinking about, we live here in our hometown. Our family's been here for like 7 or 8 generations. Anything that happens to any of us in this town, like there's not just a few people that we could call.
Right.
Our community here is huge.
Right.
Even if we're just talking about people we're related to.
Right. Yeah.
But like when I was in the service and out in California, it was me and Autumn. If we would have had a kid at that point and something would have happened, there would have been another one of us. But still, like, I could have gone to my command. I could have gone to some friends that I had out there. There was still that military community of support. I don't think I've ever been in a situation where I can even relate to the situation some of these single parents can find themselves in, where, something happens to them and nobody's there to take care of the kids.
Yeah.
And I'd never even thought about this before learning about Joe and how they support this ministry.
My Village Ministries.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, man, I can't even relate to that. Not one day of my life have I been in that situation.
Right.
And then to learn that 50% of the time you don't ever get your kids back out of the system.
I know.
That's heartbreaking in every way.
And
yeah.
Yeah. Just because you need an emergency surgery or some situation.
And I think the
like
other
that.
thing that's mind-blowing too is when you look at the efficiency. I'm a big efficiency guy, right? We don't just want to give dollars, we want to give impact. And so for $1,000, a couple $1,000, you can take that family, support them because it's so heavily volunteer based, and then the family is, united and stronger. For a kid in foster care, it's an astronomical number. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars between the caseworkers and the judges and magistrates and visitation days, and they end up on Medicaid and all these other things that, you're pulling all of that out, and for $1,000, $2,000, really able to, free the system of those burdens and responsibilities while also providing a better outcome for everyone. And so we love it because it's so efficient, and the dollars go far on something like that.
Yeah.
Now, were you about to share with us another?
I was. This is it's one of my most prized possessions back here. This is it's a picture of a well in Africa, in Malawi. And this other organization we support is a group called Design Outreach. And what they do is they create innovative technology for the third world. So something like 99% of engineering happens for first world. Cooler iPhones, faster cars, all of the, more reliable internet, all the stuff that those engineering dollars go towards. Meanwhile, there's 2 billion people in the world that don't have access to clean water. And what they found, a couple of these world-class engineers from, medical companies, and one was a innovative nonprofit called Battelle, does a lot of, government contracts and that kind of thing. These two founders met and they said, we want to use our engineering skills to solve real problems. And so they found that water wells in, most time you get a hand well and it breaks inside of the first year, and it's notoriously inconsistent. And so what happens is you can't get a stable economy going. You can't, really start creating a sustainable town village without access to clean water. In certain parts of sub-Saharan Africa, they don't name babies until their first birthday, because 50% of them don't make it to the first birthday. And so, most of it are water-related issues. And so by redesigning the water pump and installing it with, parts that aren't going to break, they now have water pumps that have been running for 10 years without one day without water. Their water pumps are linked into satellite grids. So they can not only see if they're functional, but how many gallons a day they're pumping, how many hours a day they're pumping. Oh, this one's running 22 hours a day. We should probably go install another one. So they've got a second one, that kind of stuff. So we can track all the water pumps that we've installed and see how many gallons a day, how many hours a day, how many people are in the village, all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool. And that's their kind of their flagship product. But they're also working on things like medical technology that doesn't require electricity, because, you know, stuff that's designed for the local hospital here at Ohio State is far different needs than what's designed for a bush hospital in sub-Saharan Africa. So they're using things like creating, a negative suction or a negative pressure wound vac it's got a little motor suction cup to draw bad stuff out of a wound. They don't have electricity consistently. So they created one that uses a weight that you just lift the weight up and slowly it'll fall and pull create a negative suction. And all you have to do is go lift the weight back up once every 3-4 hours and it'll always work. Simple solutions to complex problems that are actually functional for the people that need them.
That's fascinating. That's got to have way more of an impact.
Oh yeah.
Like this is brand new to me hearing this. Like actually going and designing and being innovative in like just the term innovation means something different here than what I'm used to, which is go beyond what we have, right? They're being innovative to go beyond what they have over there.
So what's really interesting about these guys is they have a lot of semi-retired engineers that were big, high-paid project lead engineers from all over the globe, and they come in volunteer time. So they collect $1 million in, call it free salary a year from these engineers that want to tinker on projects that are, white-haired and kind of sunsetting their career, but they want to have an impact. And so that's their fellows program, their fellowship, and they give all this time. They help, provide guidance to these, younger engineers that are working for half what they're worth because they're working on stuff that doesn't pay but has a tremendous impact.
That reminded me of, do you remember David Burns?
No.
He was the guy who discipled me in college.
Oh, okay.
Tall basketball player guy. Anyway, he now works for a ministry called IMS, ICM, International Cooperating Ministries, ICM. And what they try to do is their mission is a church within walking distance of every person on the planet.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things they'll do is they'll help a congregation who doesn't have a building build a building. But what they do is they erect this like pole. I'm going to butcher the description of this, but the impact is like a pole with solar on the top.
Yeah.
And it becomes a place where everybody can charge their phone. They put solar-powered lights up there so that now you have light at night in a place that doesn't have light at night. And so that becomes the community soccer field.
Yeah.
And what this building ends up being is more than a place for a church to meet for half a day, 1 day a week. It becomes a safe house for rescuing women out of sex trafficking. It becomes the community center for sports and all this stuff. And it brings the whole community to this place where they can be loved on by people who want to introduce them to Jesus.
Yeah.
If they want, just love on people, man.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of, it's like, there's nothing high tech about that solution.
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing that doesn't exist that needs to be invented to make that work. And that's what was interesting. That's what made me think about it when Joe was talking about the pumps. Like, nothing needed to be invented. There's no tech that didn't exist. Like, they might have created a new design or something, but my guess is like, it's just good engineering in a place that didn't have any. And the massive impact that can create. It's pretty.
Yeah. The next project that they're working on now, which I think is fascinating, they have looked and studied all the malfunctions in the current pump that's being implemented by, 40,000 new ones go in every year by, all the major water NGOs. And they have found that 80% of the malfunctions come down to one piece that can be 3D printed for $6, $10 for a kit. So these retrofit kits can extend pump life from 3 months to 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. And now, because the part that needs replaced is so cheap, the community themselves can band together and can put this thing on a routine maintenance schedule. They can maintain this pump themselves. They need someone to put the capital investment in, but now they can maintain it. And that's fascinating too, because you're starting to talk about propagating the sustainable ecosystem and environment.
Yeah. Teach a man to fish.
So Huber Equities has actually inspired Hearthstone to do something very similar. And Joe, you probably don't know about this, but of course, if this is the first episode you've ever listened to, Hearthstone Capital is a fund of a fund. And so we raise money and we invest in other people's deals, like Joe's.
Yeah.
Like Huber Equities. Like, we find great operators who we can trust, who have a faith-driven business, who want to make a real eternal impact and generate great returns, and we invest in their deals.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're trying to find the Joe Hubers of the world,
right? And
we're also raising equity. So we were talking about this in our meeting, and it's me and Brad and Rob and Marina and Brett. We're all on Zoom. We're talking, and the question came up. Hey, we're trying to invest the equity that we have in deals that give great returns and create a real eternal impact for good all over the world, deals that actually make more of a difference than just the return, right? So I was like, but we've never talked about what we do with our profits.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, should we not be doing the same thing?
Right.
And we were all like, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
And so, if you're an investor in Huber or in Hearthstone and you're listening to this, we're talking about our GP profits, not your returns.
Same on our end. Yeah, for the record. That's our profits.
Right, yeah.
Sure.
And so, yeah. Everybody gets their full share, okay?
Yeah, you all are about to get some warm calls.
But we're like, well, okay, we're all in agreement we're going to do this.
Where's it go?
What do we care about?
Yeah.
And so we're talking about some of these ideas of things we might be passionate about, what we want to. And then I think it was Rob in New Mexico. He says, why don't we just give to what our sponsor partner gives to? Why don't we just come alongside of them? And so starting in Fund 3, which we're about to launch. So Joe, this doesn't help you in the deal we did with you in Fund 2. But if we do another deal with you in Fund 3, this is what we'll be doing. We'll be taking that percentage and giving alongside of our sponsors in what they're giving to.
That's a great idea.
I was like, Rob.
Rob, that's a great idea.
The big bucks.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
So anyway, that was all inspired by
Joe Huber.
I
love that, guys. That's incredible. Yeah.
And is there another one you're going to tell us about? Those are the two main ones?
I would say the other thing that we're trying to figure out internally is, I feel like we woke up one day and now we've got almost 2,000 units, and that's 2,000 lives that come into contact with our company every day. I guess more than 2,000. You got 2,000 families, the best family
units. Housing
and
units.
so what we're trying to figure out is, how do we have an impact on our resident base as well? And so we're looking to things like apartment life and, different community building opportunities to, we've done some kind of ad hoc in the past with, partnering with local churches for community events and, Easter egg hunts and coat drives and English clubs for, people that don't speak English as a first language and all those kinds of things. But we're really trying to figure out, how do we programmatically and systematically as a company go through and implement, impact into our day-to-day operations. One, because we want to have that impact. We don't just want to have an impact at the end when we're giving, but two, because that's good business, right? Communities drive retention. It drives renewal rates. It drives, positive reviews on Google, which drive advertising and rental rates and all those things. And feel like community building is good business. You got to do it.
We just had Kevin Dean on. They wouldn't know each other.
They might. I don't know.
Do.
He's with Rockbridge.
Yeah, know the Rockbridge
Rockbridge,
guys,
but
but I don't know Kevin.
Yeah, so I mean, I was going to mention apartment life before you said it, because we just had a great conversation because he's doing that with his multifamily, and there was another one that he mentioned too.
Way Forward.
Way Forward was the other one.
Yeah, I think they're like apartment life.
Yeah.
I'd heard it. I'm familiar with apartment life. I've never heard of Way Forward at this point, but it sounded like it's a similar kind of thing. But
yeah, but I mean, who knows? Maybe he'd be a good person to talk to. It sounds like he's been doing it for a while and really trying to do more and find other ways. But it's a fascinating conversation we had with him, and I think that's coming out on Monday or maybe the Monday after. It might be worthwhile listen for you, but I guess you answered like what's the vision forward or moving forward, what you're looking to do, and one right there is try to incorporate more community and things to impact all those lives in those units. Is there more you're wanting to about part of your vision?
We're very tactical and practical about our goals. So we have a 5-year vision and then a kind of a 3-year picture, 1-year plan, and then quarterly goals, right? So we look at all of that. We would like to have in 3 years, 5,000 units of steady, there's a stable portfolio of 5,000 units. Some deals are cycling in, cycling out. Maybe there's some that we buy and they're long-term holds with either patient capital or deals that we buy on our own. But really trying to establish that about 5,000 unit portfolio cycle. And then from there, I think it's trying to figure out, where do you go from there? Do we want to go the institutional route? Do we want to stay the steady friends and family, and less institutional capital? Because we really like a lot of the flexibility of the sub-institutional capital. And frankly, I don't know, making Harvard Endowment Fund richer is not something that's really high on my priority list or gets me super excited. But when you have the opportunity to come along amazing families and many of which love our vision, love our mission, and are like-minded with it, Harvard Endowment Fund is, not that we'd ever land those guys, but never going to come to us and say, hey, we love your mission. We want to give out of our GP profits too to the causes you're giving to. But guys like Bo,
Right.
that's really exciting for us. That's what gets us pumped up. Yeah, so I think we're trying to figure out what that looks like with the next phase.
If you could point our listeners, I'm going to put Huber Equity Group. I'm going to put that. That's in the show notes. Y'all could go click on that. What could our listeners do to make the most impact or help you make the most impact?
That's a great question.
Or if they just wanted to connect with you.
Yeah,
How
LinkedIn's
would
always
they
a
do
great
it?
place. I can give you, Bo, feel free to put my contact information in the show notes as well. People can always,
Sure.
can always reach out there. Invest in those Hearthstone funds because I think it's not the only deal we're going to do together. So,
That's
so
definitely the plan.
those will make its way hopefully to some of our deals here soon, the Fund 3. So,
And then just to say it again, there's My Village Ministries.
Yeah.
I'm going to put these in the show notes too. And Design Outreach.
amazing causes. My village is looking to open up chapters, branches in several states and cities this year. So if that's something you feel like you have interest in, usually they're looking for a kind of a parent church to start taking it over. So you've got 5-10 people that are excited about it, and you can kind of spiral out from there. So they're it's a pretty simple model that can affect everyone. Needs it. Every city in America has families that enter crisis in some form of a child protective services thing.
So is that to say that right now My Village Ministries is pretty local to Columbus
they're
or Ohio?
branching out across Ohio, but they also have several partner organizations, and they've they're launching a couple more chapters, but it's mostly Midwest right now.
All right, that's good to know.
Yeah. Yeah, this has been a fascinating conversation. It is a little different than some of our others because we talked how do you do it? How do you do all this? But this is way bigger than just real estate.
Oh man, from Vespas to pumps that work.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we've really covered the gamut here, but you're right.
Yeah.
This is the power of real estate though.
Yeah.
Is it impacts every person on the planet in some way.
Yeah.
And so if you recognize that it's all the Lord's and you deploy capital in a way that is for people, like you can really make a difference with it.
Right.
And it's been characterized as just a bunch of greedy, older white guys.
Right. They're the villains in every movie.
In most movies. And so, man, I love being able to bring somebody on here that shows that, like, man, this is the good that can be done through real estate.
That's right. With great power comes great responsibility.
As soon as he said that at the top of the episode, I knew you were going to work Spider-Man in here some way. I knew it.
I couldn't wait. I was waiting for the
Our kids went to this VBS, Vacation Bible School, and the whole theme of the week, the bad guy in season 1 was this real estate developer who was trying to buy this family farm. And, they're making him up as this like villain, whatever. And he called him and he offered him money for the farm. And, at least sitting there, they come back and like, guys, does dad buy farms or just apartment buildings? How nefarious is my father?
You've got to have incredible support, and you really, I can't thank you enough for what you have shared to us today.
Yeah,
it's very inspiring what you can do, and just the whole goal of,
I think
giving.
I think Bo touched on it. When we looked at why were we doing this, it was real estate's notoriously a greedy field with stuffy old white guys that are hoarding piles of cash, right? Scrooge McDuck swimming in his swimming pool of gold, if you get that reference. And we wanted to turn that on its head, right? Because, I've met a lot of really rich people, and some of the richest are the most miserable, and the people that are not miserable, the people that are really enjoying it are the people that are giving, that are really generous, that aren't just trying to greedily stack more on the pile and compare their pile to someone else's. That's just a recipe for a really miserable life. And so we knew going in that was what we were trying to avoid. And what's been amazing is, we've been able to attract people and even I think see people move in their journey of generosity themselves. And that's really exciting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's been an honor to have you.
Appreciate it, guys.
Now, if we've got a few more minutes, you want to do a pop quiz?
Love it. Pop quiz, game time.
Yeah!
All right, pop quiz. He gets real excited about this pop quiz. Now, this works.
I'm excited, Bo. I'm so excited.
Throw a little rod in here. Okay. So, Joe, the way this works is you and I are going to ask Timmy 5 questions. We're going to see if he's been paying attention to the episode. Now, you can't tell, but he takes notes like crazy in anticipation of maybe we have a pop quiz at the end. So, as our special guest, you will go first. You will ask him questions 1, 3, and 5. The rules are you can ask him anything about anything we've talked about, or you can just try to stump him with something else, commercial real estate related. Okay? So, Joe, question 1.
All right, Timmy. What are Uncle Warren's 2 rules of investing?
Don't lose money and look at the first rule. Or something like that.
Close enough.
Let me give it to
you. Yeah.
Oh, don't lose money. Yeah, refer to the first rule.
All right.
Baby!
Nicely done. Okay, question 2. Joe earlier gave a great framework. In fact, I wrote it down, and it really simplified some things for me. And he basically was talking about there's 3 main factors in the growth of just about any business, but especially commercial real estate.
Yeah.
You remember what those 3
I remember
were?
2 of them. The third one could come to me. I'm going to try not to look at my notes.
Okay.
The second one was money. The third one was execution.
Okay.
The first one was it deal flow?
Yes.
Hey!
Deal flow, capital, and execution. Very, very good.
All right.
My man,
Yeah,
it's been paying attention. Okay.
Yeah, this has been
Great.
an easy one to soak in.
Well,
Yeah,
good.
by the way. That's,
All right.
Yeah, kudos to Joe.
Joe, question 3.
All right, Timmy, two-parter. What is basis and why is it so important?
Yes. Okay. Basis is the amount of money that you are putting in your investment that cannot be changed. Like, this is what you're buying it for. And a lot of people think it's the most important because you buy it too high, your margin is going to be a lot lower. So what you were looking for, you're digging for the basis. So you're looking for those low numbers. So you've got a higher margin.
Perfect.
And I think the why you really said, it's the one thing you can't change after you've bought it.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
My
Love
man.
it.
Huh? All right.
Gonna make a
Yeah.
real estate deal dog out of you yet.
I know, right? Like, we're into year 3 of this podcast now, and he still acts like he's not interested in commercial real estate, but he's probably just knowledge-based top 10% at this point, I'd imagine.
But it's like what he said, right? You could read a million books on cold calling, but until you do it, you know. So I think I've got it's there a bit.
And I had a question for question 4, and I lost it. All right, let's go with this. What is that tagline for their business or kind of their why that I like so much?
With great power comes great. It's not that. And then also what I'm thinking there too, that was like the main priority of the thing. I'm gonna have to look if I wrote it down. Digging for basis. That was one. Yeah, we fight for profits so we can give generously.
That's it.
There it is.
All right. 4 for 4.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, let's wrap it
right.
up. Question 5.
We've had some serious questions. We're going funny on this one. What was Bo's famous cold open?
I just drove past your Dollar General. It's not on fire.
That's right. There it is.
Which is a good one.
That's a good one.
It's
That's a good
not
one.
on fire.
5 for
That's
5. How often is it 5 for 5, guys? That feels pretty good.
You know,
I haven't gotten 5 for 5, I think, the past couple times or 3 times.
but I mean, I don't know, 40, 50% you go 5 for 5?
Yeah.
And most of the time I'd say you're 4 for 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's hard to stem. Yeah.
Ha! Good. Thank you all very much. This is just,
Joe Huber.
I did.
Nicely done.
Yeah. These
Great.
pop quizzes are for me. So I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Cool. Well, Joe, thank you so much.
Guys, this was a blast. You guys got
It was a lot of
got
fun.
a lot of energy. I'm excited. This is fun.
Sweet. Yeah.
This is what happens when you do a podcast with this particular brother of mine.
I like it.
It's just a lot of fun, man.
I like it.
I had a blast. Yeah.
Good.
Joe, you were great, man. This was fun. I can't wait for our listeners to hear this.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right, man.
Appreciate it.
Y'all, I don't know about you, but I feel inspired and also slightly attacked by Joe's productivity.
If you're making 150,000 touches a year, that's not networking, that's cardio.
I mean, I get anxious at the thought of even answering a phone call. Joe probably cold called his prom day. Like, hey, Emily, just wondering if your current boyfriend has an offer on the dance floor yet.
If this episode helped you think differently about how deals are made, or reminded you that CRE doesn't have to be all suits and spreadsheets, do us a favor.
Hit that subscribe button. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. If you do, we will shout you out. For example, here's one from Renee Nelson, who left us a new one, by the way.
A new one.
Yes, outwork your competition with less work and learn how to water ski. This is from June. Renee, big shout out. We love you very much. Bo and Michael break down real world AI tools that every commercial broker should be exploring now. And Timmy's humor keeps it light, sharp, and engaging.
True.
From data scraping to automating outreach, this episode is packed with actionable insights and smart prompts you can apply today. Practical, relevant, and refreshingly fun. The episode she's talking about, you can click right here. It'll be in the show notes as well. And then, Bo, read us our other one.
Oh, Ian, my man. Also from the Pacific Northwest, says, back to listening to the best CRE podcast. Played the recent podcast on Loud and made the whole office listen. Always such great ideas that give new energy to how we do what we do. Awesome. Thanks,
Yes,
Ian.
thanks.
I love how you are annoying your entire office with our
Love
podcast.
it. Ian Levin, we love it. Do like Ian and go tell your broker besties who still think CoStar is the only way, please.
And if you're not getting our newsletter, now's the time. It's where I share what I'm reading, learning, and why I'm obsessed with market cycles.
You are.
Go to subscribe.wgbaron.com to sign up.
And if you're drowning in emails, underwriting, or just need someone to make your CRM not look like my high school locker, check out our partners at superpowershq.com/commercially speaking. That's where Bo was matched with his EA, Alice, and she's been crushing it harder than Joe on a Tuesday.
We love Alice so much.
Speaking of love, Barbara Corcoran.
Oh, no.
If you're still listening, let me paint the picture for you. Jun, 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 jun. This week on Commercially Speaking, the queen of NYC real estate joins two brothers from Kentucky, one with a CCIM, the other with ADHD.
I don't know if this is the best way to...
Barb, we'll talk CRE. We'll talk scaling a brokerage. We'll talk about what it's like to turn $1,000 loan into an empire and then tolerate Kevin O'Leary for a decade. We're ready. We got the questions. We got the mics. We even got the virtual assistant thanks to superpowershq.com/commercially speaking. All we're missing is you, Barb.
You done?
For now.
All right. We'll see y'all next week.
Love you, brother.
Love you, brother.
Bye, Ellis.
Bye, Alice.